A countdown. All right. Hey, welcome to RESHAPE podcast today. Today we have a fun show here to talk about a couple different trends that are popping in the industry. One of them, we'll get into some of the data mining and how that's changing in construction. We've got Dustin here from Trimble. I think you guys will enjoy Dustin and some of the stuff that he's doing behind the scenes with Trimble. For those of you that everybody's pretty much worked with Trimble, I think, at this point in their career. But they're one of the biggest players in the industry as well as in the world when it comes to construction management and tools they provide and techniques and things like that. A little bit behind Dustin. He's had a long history there. Dustin, you won I forget what the medal was that you won, an award like 2017 for, what was it, Trimble's? Yeah,
it was a Trimble BIM. Trimble BIM. It was a MEP People's Choice Award. It was a BIM award. For a project I did as a contractor.
Well, I got to imagine that's pretty prestigious, especially with how big Trimble is, that they do that yearly.
Yeah, it led to an opportunity for me to work for them at some point, right? So I had to take the best advantage I could at the time.
Yep. Dustin's got a large experience too in like Revit, all the Trimble products, Sysque. That's actually how I bumped into him, was through our connection through Sysque, which Trimble acquired a couple years ago. And then there's things, Dustin, on your portfolio that I'm like, what even is, like Enventor? I thought you misspelled Enventor, but then I had to Google it. It's a different endeavor that's different than, Autodesk Enventor. So he's got his hands in stuff that I'm not even aware of. So we'll let him talk a little about his experience coming up here. We're going to jump into our first little market trend here. A second here. So I got the idea as Dustin and I were talking about, just like the movie Moneyball changed the game of construction, or not changed the game of professional sports a decade or more ago. And the idea was study statistics and play to your advantage with the statistics. Once you have the information, it becomes powerful if you know how to use it. And if you've watched a baseball game in the last 10 years, even 5 years, their shifts, they professionally shift players based on where they hit the ball. And it looks absurd. Like, I grew up playing baseball. My wife's family has been long-term baseball players, from her grandpa being in the minors to her dad and her brother playing at Eastern Michigan University. So we can't walk in their house without a baseball game on. And I watch it now, and it just baffles me that the entire infield is shifted between second base and third base, because 85% of the time the guy's going to hit the ball that way. And we dare you to hit it to the right side. We'll give you the base hit if you hit it there. So as we saw how that changed that industry, it's starting to, through things like Trimble's doing, and Dustin, you can chime in here, through the things that's going on in construction science, there's companies that are developing construction science experts that are data mining left and right to see how much volume of concrete are we pouring, or how many winter days. Like, for example, I was talking with Dustin recently about how we were doing a project in Michigan, down near the Lake Michigan, and one of the things that happened there was we had to study snow days, because there's a lake effect in Michigan that you just get hammered right off the lake and then it dissipates over the state. And so little things like that have been going on for a long time. But with what we're talking about today, I think we're going to see this start to go to a new level. And that's going to become a new trend in our construction, is having construction data mine scientists in companies. So with that, let's turn the corner here to Dustin here. And so, Dustin, I'm going to start off with one of the first questions we had here is, what's trending for you guys with Trimble? I mean, you're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and you're constantly looking ahead, like we're talking about, to these things. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect segue to talk about data, right? And data is the new currency of construction. We have to use what we have historically and what we know about our people to make the best decisions we can. And Trimble's really invested in helping their customers use the data to their advantage, right? So we're building interfaces to leverage data across different platforms. One that we're leveraging currently with Sysque is called Construction Analytics, and we hope that it kind of reshapes the functionality that people have, and the ability to analyze certain things around their projects, right? Or multiple projects at a time, right? If they can do a buyout across 3 jobs, can they, increase their profitability and pick up some dollars on the material, right? So just trying to help contractors make better predictions, better decisions around their work is what I think Trimble's biggest goal is.
So continuing with that, how do you help them to determine, I mean, you guys have a huge portfolio of products. How do you help them dial in on which ones are the right ones? I mean, walk me through that.
Yeah, so I'm a sales engineer, and as a sales engineer, I work with the sales reps in their respective regions to first understand what the customer is currently using for the task, if anything at all. And then I try to find out as much about the customer, their needs, and their budget as I can, how many detailers they have, like what's their ambition, are they trying to scale, or what are they really trying to do, trying to set up a fab shop, because we have multiple products across many different markets. So the ones I deal with are, a lot of BIM deliverables, fabrication deliverables, how to use our data with other technologies that the contractor uses. Really trying to understand their tech stack and how Trimble fits in. And if Trimble is the majority of the tech stack, do we have better solutions for that contractor, or are they going to go back to a competitor, right, to solve that task that they're trying to complete? So I have a team that I work with, and really we try to analyze everything about the customer, right, what they're asking to do, and then really trying to see if our solution fits their need.
Let me ask you this, because when I first jumped out on my own, started collaborative almost a decade ago, one of the first clients that I worked with brought me in and said, okay, we want you to make us as competitive as your former company was with, say, BIM in technology. And when I sat down and met with this company, in lessons I had learned was, okay, having one champion is not always the best solution. You need to get smaller little champions in different departments. That way it's not like if one person leaves and takes a better job, you're not dead in the water. So can you walk me through how you work with the customer? And you talk about setting the software, but how do you help them implement it into, I mean, changing a company culture is not easy, especially when it's a big
not. We've dealt with many types of contractors in my years at Trimble. Me specifically, I've worked with many regions. I've worked with all the regions, really. I've been to many fabrication facilities across the United States and Canada. So I've seen a lot, right? And we try to understand what's the best practice. Like, if we pulled one thing from this contractor that they do very well, like, how do we help them replicate that thing that they do really well across their entire business, right? So I guess there's multiple ways to answer the question, but I mean, really, implementing software takes a very serious approach from the management, right? And, a constant check-in, right? Where are we at with adoption? Are we 50% off of our old products or solution and 50% onto the new solution, or how do we migrate? And we help as a consultant, we help you figure that out. We help you set up a training regimen for the product that you're purchasing. We make sure that you understand how to go to support for help, right? You have, in our business, you have sales engineers that you can rely on, that you build relationships with, that really understand a lot about you as a person, and your business and what you do as a task. So we study the personas in the companies and try to understand how we can build solutions for those personas, whether it be an accountant for ERP, project management, right? Try to provide a solution across the entire contractor's business, and then really try to create as one ecosystem for all of our products to operate inside of.
I got a question for you. This is rolling through my head while you're talking. Can you walk us through, you don't have to list a client's name or anything, but somebody that was just really pleased with how you guys walked them through implementing? And what I'm thinking of is an example of how it, from my experience as a consultant in the BIM world, I'm always pushing for get them results in the field, something tangible that they can walk away on a job site and say, man, that was incredible that we did that differently. Can you maybe share a success story of a client you worked with where you saw that they quickly saw a tangible result in the field?
Yeah, I have a contractor that I just came back from visiting last week, and I won't name them just because I
No, you
I
don't.
don't
Yeah,
know if they would
that's
appreciate
fine.
it or not. So um, they're not far from me, so it was an opportunity for me to go visit them, and they had some struggles. One of their team members was out of their office. We had set up all of their content and their XMLs on Trimble Connect as a new workflow to distribute that data set to the team, right? So they share all the same content and the same settings inside of Sysque. And
Mhm.
their team member, which is a really great guy, he had just gotten married and he was on a 2-week vacation on the West Coast for his honeymoon. And they couldn't access the data from Trimble Connect, and there was a large problem, right? And um, it was right when he left. So we're working, trying to understand, why they couldn't access the data and what happened. And I visit when they come back just to make sure everything's okay. And they're telling me that they're 1,000 hours ahead on fabrication using our products and connections to end of line fabrication equipment, and I was blown away. And they just started implementing in Q2, and I've been working very closely with their champion. And we're trying to always develop everybody's skill set, but you need someone to take point on it, right? Like you have to have somebody take accountability for the software implementation, right? And this was this guy, and um, very, very intelligent, an engineer, mechanical engineer by trade, draftsman. He can draw on Revit, right? And to hear those results and to see the success that they're having, um, it's what fills my cup every day, right?
Mhm.
So
Now you go
go
ahead.
ahead.
You threw out a couple numbers. 1,000 hours ahead. In my world, I mean, at 1,000 hours, I mean, you're talking half a year of somebody full time. I mean, that's
That's
just,
a half a man year, yeah.
yeah, and that's just on the fabrication, like prepping. So you think about the backside of the fact they were able to implement the workflow to get fabrication. I mean, I've seen all kinds of studies, and that's for another day. But that sometimes you're increasing your productivity 2 to 3 times in the field because of what you're able to fabricate. I mean, so it compounds exponentially.
Yeah, and we're working with a software company through them to make their process better, right? So
Mm.
Trimble as a whole is very open to integrations. I know people in the industry may not think so, but if they have a solution that we have a common customer that they need, we try to understand what it is and see if we can help develop towards it. We're always tackling, the hardest problem to solve, right? Um, at least we think we are. A big trend, we were talking trends, right? Data, model-based estimating is a big trend that keeps me up late at night. Wakes me up early in the morning to try to see if any developments have happened overnight or what the next, step is, right? So we're working towards releasing model-based estimating this year. So it's in it's in testing right now. So
Mhm.
we're having a lot of successful testing, and I'm running point with some developers on it, and it's a really good place to be when you see things come to fruition that you've been working on for many, many years.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was on the beta teams for a couple of products about a decade ago, not with Trimble, but with another company, and it was eye opening for me because everybody's like, "Why can't you get this done?" And it's like there's an army of engineers working behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
to draft this stuff, and it's not just as simple as, well, just change this code here. It takes a lot of man hours to try it, test it, beta it before you can even put it out in the field. So I definitely gained a respect for how hard it is to get some of this stuff out there for the market and for it to perform well.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think our installer for Sysque is like 1.4 gigs just to download and install. That's the base build with minimal content, right?
yeah,
Like there's nothing in there, and it's
yeah.
1.4 gigs. So there's a lot of code that goes into it, a lot of work, a lot of engineers work really hard,
Mm-hmm.
um, to build these cloud solutions to integrate our products. So it's coming to fruition, and I think there's not a better time than now to be able to analyze the data and make better predictions, around labor and the labor shortages that we're having.
Mhm.
And hopefully the money that's coming from the infrastructure bill will go to keep a lot of people working. So,
Mhm.
go ahead.
You hit on a big problem here, and I've seen this I was an educator started getting an education about 8 years ago, and one of the things I was tasked with was get more students in the classroom. I want to go into construction, and it was I could see the writing on the wall then that this was not an easy solution to fix because there's not a lot of people that are excited to put on a tool belt anymore.
Yeah.
And you guys are well aware of that, and we talked a little bit about that the other day. Can you kind of share a little bit of Trimble's vision of, because that's every company in America is facing that right now, especially in construction, of I don't know where to get people, but I'm winning work and I have to perform. And so this has probably been the biggest industry issue I've seen in the last 5 years. How's Trimble trying to tackle that? Because I know you guys have a vision for that.
Yeah, so we have a fund, Trimble Ventures, that was just set up, and Trimble Ventures is a $200 million fund that was set up, I believe, by Rob Painter. And I have some of this as quotes, so I'll read it to you because I don't want to mess it up and do him any injustice. So the fund will launch with a $200 million allocated for investments and focus on companies with the potential for technology-enabled innovation and disruption in the digital transformation of the industries Trimble serves. That's many industries, right? So it's a fund that basically will go and help fund startups that want to integrate with Trimble and have a very disruptive technology, right? We're not talking about like we want to purchase everybody. Like Trimble can't own everyone, right? So it's a way to invest in disruptive technologies and build relationships with those companies as they develop, right? So it's a huge investment, right?
You're throwing out keywords that are getting my ears going. When you say disruptive technologies, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you qualify as disruptive technologies? I mean, I think I know where you're going, but
yeah, there's a lot of disruptive technologies with just with what we're trying to do. Like we're trying to integrate our own solutions with one another, right? To touch different personas across the construction process in your company, right? We want to connect the data through a workflow from conception to completion. So that's disruptive, right? If I can keep all of my team in one ecosystem to operate in, that's pretty powerful, right? Because it's not a snapshot of data from this software, it's real data flowing through the project and the life cycle. So that's disruptive. We consider that internally like our disruptive, technology, trying to, connect these systems for our users. Augmented reality, virtual reality is a very disruptive technology. How can you apply that to, training and building the next generation of workforce? I come from the field. I was a sprinkler fitter for Local 669 for about a decade, and went to school, drafting design. Was in the military prior to that, and the unions out there that I really think they have something going. They're doing this helmets to hard hats thing, where they're bringing young people in that are veterans that have a GI Bill that they can use and get paid to go through the apprenticeship. Many people don't know that they can go work and get paid for their GI Bill to go through the apprenticeship. That's something that I did when I was going through with Local 669, their education program to be a road sprinkler fitter. So that's what got me into the industry, and then I started to see more and more need for CAD, and I was enrolled in a technical college, the next fall, and I was doing my apprenticeship and my associate's degree concurrently, and it was tough. I spent a lot of hours away from home, and it's not easy to find people that want to come into construction, but this technology makes it cool. So that's also disruptive, right? When you can apply something to the next generation of workforce that are very visual, have been around video games and instant data and access to data their entire life, right? I mean, I'm guilty of it. My 4-year-old has an iPad, in his hand when we're on any trip, right? When we're on any road trip. And I remember when I was on a road trip as a kid, we were, looking at road signs, trying to figure out, who could find the next letter in the alphabet on a road sign, right? So
Yeah.
things are changing, and technology is disrupting construction, and access to data and being able to analyze it, synthesize it, and process it and make decisions around it is very disruptive as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were, like I said, we were talking to a company yesterday in Seattle area, and that was one of the things that they were looking at was they need more specialists in this industry that literally sit in an office and just pull data from design models, pull data from the field, and try to combine them together to get the knowledge and the data together to then start to, like, my mind goes into, are we going to start forecasting? Like, you already see like people doing 4D scheduling and things like that, where they're animating their schedule in the model. It wouldn't surprise me to see them start putting weather analytics into there and all kinds of other stuff, and crew crowding. And I mean, my head goes back to when I was in grad school at Michigan State University in construction management. We studied all these formulas to analyze where was the breaking point where throwing more people at that job site didn't help anymore. It was bad instead of helpful. And things like
what do they call that? Diminishing marginal return.
Yeah, there was a term for it, but I remember the simple term was, crew crowding. When you get too many crews on the job site, you start
stack. Yep.
So
trade stacking.
I wouldn't be surprised if simply run across something the next week or so, if somebody already doing this stuff,
So we have a kind of a vision of enabling users to interact with data through a model, and really, we have some interfaces in which you can do that now with Trimble Connect, right? We have the mobile, web, and Windows-based application that allows users to interact with data. Really, you can self-serve for whatever data set you need and export it. If you need to, take it to Excel and rearrange and organize and filter, synthesize that data, you can do it. And trying to enable workflows around that data throughout the construction process is, I think, a goal that everyone has, but I think that we're well positioned at Trimble to make that goal a reality, because it's very hard to work with other technology companies that maybe have limited engineering resources, or maybe no engineering resources at all, to co-develop with them, right? Like, it's hard to use real-time data when it's usually an export.
Yeah.
Just a snapshot.
One of the things that we talked about too, just to use this as maybe a last question, you guys have some new stuff coming out that you alluded to that most people in the industry probably don't even know this is out yet. It's coming out soon, right? Some of you want to elaborate on some of the stuff you guys are releasing here that could potentially help these people as they go down this road?
Yeah, so I'll point to a webinar, not a webinar, but it was a podcast kind of with MCAA that Chris Pepler did. I was trying to figure out how to say that. He talked about cloud-based products, IoT, how to leverage everything that we could in someone's process and enable other people to really kind of leverage it in their process, right? So Trimble Connect seems to be a very common theme in what he was saying. He mentioned Sysque for model-based estimating and some things that we're doing there, and I think that it's really going to transform the way that our contractors and customers interact with their data. I think it's going to be something that allows people to do pre and post coordinations. How many pieces did I have, in my model before coordination, and how did coordination impact my quantities after, right? Can I do some cost analysis on that? Am I entitled to go fight for a change order because I have 10% cost increase because I, had to add 10% more fittings to coordinate this project? So, the contractor shouldn't take the onus if the design wasn't constructible, right?
Yep.
And many times, they do a lot for free, and we want to help enable them to understand, well, we've done this much for free now. We're not doing any more for free, right?
Yep.
just empower them with good data that they can use to fight for, billings, that they can fight for, change orders, and really empower them with the data to prove it.
It brings up an interesting thing because I've been on both sides of that conversation. When I was a construction manager, this was back in 2005 when I was first getting into BIM. We were trying to rate those rules of what is the acceptable amount of change that you should expect during coordination. Is it 10%? Is it 5% more? What is it? Because they bid the project based on a takeoff. Are they supposed to anticipate 5%, take it on the chin and move forward? What is it? We didn't know. And so we set some interesting parameters up there that, well, if the design doesn't change, like say the wall doesn't, whether these are right or wrong rules, these were rules we put together, was, okay, if the ceiling doesn't change and we don't have to build a new soffit and we don't have to build new walls, we wanted to consider that part of coordination, that you take that and you deal with it. If we had to reconfigure space and actually change the architectural envelope to make something work, then we thought it was a change order.
Sure.
And so we had to set those rules early. This was almost over 15 years ago we set those rules. Whether they were right and the contractors liked it or not, we just had to have something.
Right.
Being on the other side
CYA,
now,
right? CYA.
Well, we just couldn't come back. Like, this thing started because of a contractor came to us with a $200,000 change order, and we're like, what's this? You haven't even built anything yet. And they said, this is all the BIM changes. And we were like, whoa, time out. Let's get some ground rules here, because this would be crazy if we just let it go free, But anyway.
But think
but
about
I'm with
it.
you. Go ahead.
Like, you have to take into consideration, like, you're a business owner, right? You provide BIM as a service, right? All things BIM, right? Highly detailed coordinated models, right? Like, I've worked with you and your people in the past and worked with people that you've consulted, right? And it's the contractors take on a lot of risk. You take on a lot of risk, right? When you bid a job, right, you're trying to budget for the amount of hours it's going to take, right? If you miss something, it's on you. But if somebody else creates more work for you, like, that's when you have to, weigh the pros and cons, right?
Yep.
Do you fight for it, or do you just let it go and then just let them know, hey, when they ask you to do something next time, like, hey, I already took it on the chin for you, right? I can't do it again. I'm not doing it.
This goes back to the whole data mining. As long as you have the data, you can build a case. Like I said, I was on one side of the argument. Now I'm on the other side, where contractors are asking me all the time, what did we start with and where are we at now? They ask me that all the time. And fortunately, with the data, the ability to mine some of the data, it sounds like better products are coming, like you're talking about. But with the limited ones I had, I could give them a rough idea. I could give them fixture counts and stuff like that, and elbow counts, things like that.
Sure.
So it's gonna be interesting.
The biggest thing that I hate to see is when people pay to have the service done, the BIM process completed on a project, and then they don't leverage it for fabrication. It's the saddest thing. It's the saddest thing that I see. And I'm like, you paid all that money and you spent all that time and effort to get that far, and then didn't trust the process, right?
Yeah.
Some people just don't believe in it.
I teach I'm one of the AGC certified BIM instructors. And that's one thing I always tell, like, if you're in the room and you self-perform, you need to leverage this, because that's the payback is on the back end when you can prefab.
The labor savings, right?
Yeah, that's huge. And so I know I'm always selling myself out of being a consultant for them, but I'm like, you have to figure this out. It's so important to the success and the profitability of your company, and producing better products. So
sure, absolutely.
Dustin, this has been great. I'm going to switch gears here now and go to a little tech talk here. And this is something, guys, like I said, this technology has been evolving for a long time. This drawing I have here on my screen is probably small for you guys, but this was a concrete pour in Monroe, Michigan, and at a wastewater treatment facility. And this was a small example of this drawing was done in 2014. I had to dig that up. So 8 years ago. And we were using the things that we had right in Revit at the time, which, apologize for small things. I can't really zoom in on this application, but in the bottom corner, this project was designed in metrics. So the designer was somewhere from Canada, drew the whole project in metrics, even though it was being built in the United States. So this contractor had a lot of like blind spots on this that they were nervous about. Was, did we quantify enough concrete? Because we try to take it off in metric and convert it. And so we were able to quickly, on every pour drawing, we gave them, they wanted a 4D animation. And I basically said, you can push play and watch it, but are you getting anything? I don't think so. I said, I think there's more data to mine out of this if we show you the pour sequence by drawing and we put the quantities right on the screen. So we did that. And this was years ahead of the products that would make it easier now, but they could quickly see what were our cubic yards of concrete versus metric. They had both right there on the drawing per sheet. And what they actually learned as we were doing this was, once we provided them data, they quickly had a bunch of, oh crap moments where we can't pour that much concrete. That's way too much concrete to pour in that day. We're going to have to break this up even farther. So a lot of this was the first rendition of the drawings, and they adapted to it and said, let's break these up into 2. We need to obviously adjust our schedule. So that stuff helps you plan, helps you get a better forecast of where you're going. And the sooner you do this earlier in the project, the better you can forecast and head stuff off. So Dustin, I don't know if you have anything that's
yeah, there's a lot of good software out there that does it. I'll point to my product first and then competitors. I'll self-serve there. At Trimble Connect, we have some 4D animation capabilities in there. Can show some dovetailing exercises or sequencing. And it's actually that application that we use in the augmented reality, that space with the XR10 with HoloLens 2. It uses Trimble Connect, and we use that sequencing app to play those animations, and we can step through sequences of a multi-trade rack build or a mechanical room or a spool sheet or something. What is it? There's one on Navisworks. It's the Timeliner. Is that right? Navisworks Timeliner does it?
Yep, that was one that I was using early on. Yeah.
Yep. And then Synchro, and I think there's a couple others, but there's a lot of good softwares out there to show animation. And
there's always new pop-up companies all the time too that are like you guys are investing in them. You're giving them the start. These guys are popping up all the time.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to say, Art, because I felt like I did Trimble a little disjustice there earlier about what we're doing to get young people in. We also have an education program where we have these technology labs that we set up all over the world in the country to bring products in and let college students have exposure to them and use them and train them on them. So I wanted to make sure that I did talk about that, because there's a lot of campuses out there that we've set up the Trimble Technology Labs, and want to make sure that if anyone's curious about our technology, that's a route they can take to access it.
Yeah, I remember when I was teaching at a community college building a construction management program, we had some of your affiliates through Building Points came in, and did some hands-on with the students, and they loved it, seeing what the stuff can do. Trying to think what else. I lost the train of thought, but really, really appreciate this. We
leave it to me to throw you off on the last statement on your closeout.
That's fine. But Dustin, this has been great. Appreciate your time. Just to give you guys a teaser, Dustin and I were talking about, to really do justice to some of the stuff that's coming on, we probably need to do a trilogy of future ones. So I'm not sure when, but we'll definitely welcome back some of Dustin's team as well as maybe him again, and talk about how this thing is making it out to the field. So that's the end game at the end of the day here. I mean, the whole point of this thing brought to you by Collaborative was to empower you guys with the knowledge of how you can shape, construction through the technology and innovation. That's really what this is all about. So again, if you guys self-perform in any way, shape, or form, Dustin is a great asset you might want to reach out to. And then I know he's on LinkedIn. That's where I connected to him. And then also, one of the things I want to definitely applaud you guys on your, I had known Bill Bradford was one of the Sysque guys that Sysque was acquired by Trimble probably a handful of years ago.
17, I think, fall of 17.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And one of the things that when I evaluate any software is I always look at what's the support team behind it. Because I can tell you, I've been down the road of trying so many new software over the years. Since 2005, it seems like I've been trying a new software every year. Sure. And that comes with a price tag, and that comes with a lot of new learning. And I'll tell you, the ones that sunk on me was because they didn't have great support teams, like technical support teams.
Sure.
Because I could never get access to them. They were off selling it. They were selling their product and trying to train at the same time, and it's just not a good combination. And I'll tell you this, when Sysque partnered with you guys, that was a selling point for me that, okay, we want to align with these guys. Because we were actually using one of their competitors, And what I struggled with was just not good support, and
Right.
when we partnered with you guys, that product took off for us, and that actually became our standard of care now. We don't do a project without using that platform. Even if we're told you don't need to be at that level of detail, we don't care. It has to be for our own personal
Better
product.
to have and not need than to need and not have, right?
Yep. So again, thank you guys for watching this. Please follow Collaborative on LinkedIn or myself personally. We're trying to build our followers so that we can post directly to the Collaborative LinkedIn site. And appreciate it. Love the feedback you guys are giving us. And again, Dustin, I look forward to planning another session with your team and just seeing what else is going on.
Yeah, we'll have more to show then. So
absolutely. And we got a little bit of the narrative sneak peek. And we actually, it was interesting. Dustin made me nervous this week because we were literally almost up to the 11th hour of, is he going to be able to talk about some of this stuff or not? And he made a couple of phone calls and we were able to pull it off this week. So again, thank you. And look forward to the next show. Appreciate it.
Thanks.